Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Technogenier. I am Dr. Muhammad Yaqub. In today's lecture, I will discuss about the biomass energy, how biomass is used for the heat or electricity purpose, how we can use biomass as a biofuel, and then finally the advantages of the biomass. So what is biomass? Biomass is defined as a living matter or its residue, which is a renewable energy source. Common example of biomass is wood, grass, herbs, grain, trees, animals, animal waste, agriculture, forestry residue, municipal waste, industrial waste, vegetable oil, savages, etc. Biomass is a clean and cheap source of energy. Chemically speaking, biomass is basically a hydrocarbon containing hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen. So, if we consider that there are four different ways to convert biomass into electrical energy. The common way to produce heat or electricity is from biogas. Biogas is a process in which we put the biomass in a container with water and some chemicals, and after certain time it will produce gas, and almost 60% of that gas is methane and 40% is carbon dioxide. This gas can be used for heating purpose or to produce electricity. Normally for the biogas, the major resource is basically biogas plants or animal waste. Statistically, if we see the overall status of the biomass, almost 15% of the energy demand is fulfilled by biomass. And if we see the growth of the biomass, it produced almost 58.6 gigawatt of electricity in 2013 and in almost 82 gigawatt of electricity in 2020. If we see the overall scope of biomass in Pakistan, that Pakistan is basically an agriculture state, and almost 60% of the economy of the Pakistan is basically dependent on the agriculture. So we have a huge chunk of agriculture waste available, and which can be converted into biofuel or biomass. Secondly, we have a huge chunk of livestock available. So according to some research, it shows that almost 55,000 ton of solid waste is produced daily in Pakistan, and it is estimated that 21.35 cubic meter biogas can be generated from animal dung. So Pakistan has a huge potential to produce electricity or heat from biomass. If we see the overall status of energy generation in from the biomass, it produces almost 12% of electricity or energy from biomass and 88 from non-biomass. And among 12% is 6.9% from traditional biomass and 5.1% from modern bioenergy. So and it is a huge value compared to other renewable sources. And if we compare the overall growth of the biomass, that it produced almost 591 terawatt hour of electricity from biomass. And the common usage of the biomass is basically is in South America and North America. After that, China used the biomass to produce electricity, then Europe, and then rest of Asia. The basic process to produce heat or electricity from biomass is shown in this figure. We have different kind of sources available, which is agriculture waste, animal manure, forestry waste, industrial waste, municipal waste, sewages, crops, etc. And this is basically a solid waste, and we use this solid waste by a process known as combustion, and this combustion will produce heat, and this heat will produce steam, and then this steam is used for heating and for the power application. The second process is we use gasification. We mix this solid waste with water and some chemicals, and it decomposes to produce carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, etc. And then this its output will be used to produce methanol, and methanol will be a biofuel. Similarly, pyrolysis process is used to produce bio oil, and after FT conversion, it will be converted into biodiesel. There are some crops which are basically oil crops, and after extraction of the oil, we use esterification. Esterification is a process to convert this oil to a useful component, and then we will produce biodiesel. We have some sugar crops, and the sugar crops, they are basically fermentation process is done, and there's distillation, and then ethanol is produced. And the last process is web biomass. Web biomass is the process that is used after digestion. It will produce biogas, and then from biogas hydrogen gas is produced, and from the hydrogen gas heating or power can be produced. So these are the overall process to produce heat or electricity. So this is the complete diagram of producing heat or electricity from biofuel after combustion. We have solid waste. We put this solid waste in a reactor. It will burn the solid waste to produce heat, and this heat will produce steam, and then this steam where at almost 500 degrees centigrade, it will convert it into dry steam, and this dry steam is injected to a turbine, and due to the pressure of the steam, it will rotate and produce electricity. And the second process is that we put the biomass in a container, and after a certain time, this container will produce gas, and this gas is then injected to a reactor, where this gas is burned and it produce heat, and from this heat we produce steam. And almost at 500 or 550 degrees centigrade, it will produce dry steam, and this dry steam is injected to the turbine, and turbine start rotating, and this turbine will produce electricity, and then the electricity is fed to the whole system. The overall process of the biomass power plant is this one. We have biofertilizer, we have animal manure or bio waste. Then this waste is pumped to a special container, which is basically a digester, in which this fuel is basically mixed with some chemicals or water, and a special liquid type formation is performed. This liquid type formation is then fed to a container, where in after certain time it will produce gas, and this gas is fed to a power plant, where it is burned, it is directly burned, or it directly burned through a power generator, or it is burned to produce steam, and then steam generator is used to produce electricity, and this electricity is fed to the power station. So this is the overall procedure to produce heat or electricity from biomass. So basic advantages of biomass is always and widely available as a renewable energy source. Second is it is a carbon neutral. Carbon neutral mean that it just produce on a few amount of carbon dioxide, the amount which is absorbed by the plant. So compared to other fuel like natural gas, coal or fossil fuel, it will produce a huge amount of carbon dioxide, and it will disturb the environment. It will produce pollution. But in biomass, we normally call it as it is environmental friendly, because its carbon dioxide amount is very low. The third important point is that it reduces the over reliance of fossil fuel, because it is a substitute fuel available to produce heat or electricity. Fourth is compared to the fossil fuel, it is very cheap or less expensive. Then biomass production add a revenue source for the manufacturer, because almost every country produce biomass, and if we found some cheapest way to convert this biomass into heat or electricity, then we have a substitute source available compared to the fossil fuel. So it is an effective source available. And the last point is less garbage in the landfills. So because we consume this biomass to produce heat and electricity after combustion, the garbage will be reduced. Thank you, Jazakallah. Hopefully you will understand each and every concept of biomass. If you have some query or question, please write in comment section. Jazakallah, say blessed. Allah Hafiz.